up, everybody? It's your favorite Mandalorian's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the SH Figuarts Mandalorian. A lot of mixed reviews out there, so I'm anxious to take a look at this guy. I'm anxious to talk to you guys about this guy, also compare him to the Black Series, but in order to do any of that, we first have to thank Brian Brink for picking this up for me. This stuff sells out so quickly, so I really appreciate his help. He's helped many times in the past as well. And now we can look at accessories. You get a wide array of hands. You get 2 trigger finger hands for the right hand. You get 2 supporting hands, 2 posing / supporting hands, and then an additional supporting hand that can do different things. We'll show all of those and how they can work throughout this video or in Final Thoughts pictures, etc., etc. All detailed the same, which we'll also talk about when we get to the figure. Plus, he comes with the 2 fist hands that you saw in the opening footage. He comes with this pistol. It's well done. It's sculpted beautifully. We have the glossy black plastic, and then we have the brown painted onto the grip, and then the silver painted around the barrel. And he'll hold that just fine in the trigger finger hand that's more tightly gripped. Now you also get an empty holster, and this has no paint on it. It's just the brown plastic, but you have these little bits here that'll plug onto the belt. I'll show how all that works. So you obviously can't have his gun holstered here while he is holding his gun, so you just take that off of his belt. You then remove, pardon my flare here. My daughter gave it to me this morning. She's been very mad when I've taken it off. Take that piece off. You can then put that piece back on to this one. Once again, not the best hands in the world to accomplish this goal, but there we go. And then simply add it back on to the belt loop, and now you have suspended the disbelief, and he looks like he has his pistol out of his holster, into his hand, etc., etc. He also comes with his kind of signature Christmas special rifle here. Really well done, really well sculpted, beautifully painted with browns and silver and gold. And I think 2 shades of silver. Just absolutely ridiculous. Really, 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 really sharp. Really, really, really well done. And it has a little bit of flexibility to it, so you don't have to worry about breaking it too much. It also comes with this swap out piece, which is pretty smart, that has a bit of his shoulder strap kind of glued around it, right? So what you do is you take your gun, your rifle rather, and you split it into 3 sections, and then you replace it with this. Let me make sure I got a 50-50 chance. Let's see if I can get it right. There we go. And there we go. And now you have this tab. This will then plug into his belt. Now, there's a pre-cut slit in the cloak, or the cape, so to speak, that you can slide this through and then plug this into the belt. But just for the ease of showing you how it works, this goes in there. Now, I know what you're thinking. That doesn't seem sturdy enough to kind of support that. And I am inclined to agree with you. So you can take this piece out of the top of the rifle, and then you can have this piece come in, and I tell you what, I do not have the hands for this, but that will plug in there, and then thou, which is a combination of that and now that will keep it secure. He'll also hold the rifle just fine in the more wide trigger finger hand. Lastly, he comes with this little brown nub. I can't even show it to you in my hands, but it's just this little filler piece. I'll show you what it's for. It's a nice touch, but just try to keep track of all these little pieces. So this piece doesn't connect if it's not plugged into the rifle, right? So you can take this piece off and then use this piece as a filler and keep his kind of belt in place and do away with this is kind of what it's for. I'm going to use this for the review. So let's talk about the figure. The head is on a double ball peg from the head into the neck, and then a single from the neck into the chest. It's very subtle shading and like wear and tear on the helmet, used with washes around the seams of the helmet. It's a brown on top of the metallic silver, and it does look good. However, I'm not sure it's enough. It's kind of the opposite of the Hasbro one, which is probably a little too heavy-handed, but maybe displays it better. I feel like there should have been a little bit more here. Now, my issue largely with this is the cape. The cape looks silly, it looks cheesy, it looks cheap. It's a nice material, it's just like it sits wrong. The Hasbro one does a much better job of kind of casting it to the side, and I know he has a proper cape. It's just like, this is to keep the rifle in check. But I'm just not crazy about the way this looks. I'm going to try a couple things with it later on and see if I can get a look that's better. This just looks like not enough. All right. Now you have the gloss black on the visor as well. Using the articulation of the head, you can get it down to there, up to there. Swivel, confused dog look, so it emotes very well. It does pop off if you go too far. We have a disc hinge at the shoulder that goes into a ball peg in the chest, and then we have a slight cover down inside, but it doesn't really need it. You can drop the arm down, you can get the arm up, you can raise the arm out to 90 degrees. This shoulder pad is on a hinge connected to the shoulder, which is the best way to do it, and then a ball peg at the top that plugs in, so you can move it out of the way and then clamp it down and it'll all work. Deco wise, the shoulder has the silver and a black wash around the edge. Looks sharp, clean, and classy. There's also a cut joint, it looks like, of a bicep swivel, but yeah, it's there. It's too tight on mine. Nice wrinkles sculpted in, though. We have a double jointed elbow that gets you the full range, so that's nicely done. And then we have a black wash on top of the brown here, as well as the silver accents. The ball peg wrist is connected to a ball hinge, so you can get up, down, you can swivel at both ends and get in, out, no problem. Same for the other side, however, you do have the Scarif Trooper armor plate here. It is done well. It's shaded with a wash. It also has the silver accents and the blue paint added on, so kind of no stone unturned in that regard. You have this piece here that's connected to the belt, and it doesn't get in the way. You have a double ball peg from the chest into the abdomen, and a single from the abdomen into the pelvis. You have a black wash on this brown plate. The brown plate is painted on, and the silver is all painted on. So once again, they are not afraid of a paintbrush with this figure. They get it in. Also, we have the abdomen section, which has no paint on it. However, it is sculpted to the nines. Using both, you can get it over a fair bit, I think. Back a fair bit. Teapot. Swivel's a little limited, but it's there. Moving on to the belt itself, decoed and sculpted beautifully with pouches and chrome buttons, buckles, and leather surfaces that all look good. We have the flap here that'll get out of the way, plus the hip skirt flaps that have this like metallic fleck look to them. They'll get up and out of the way to reveal our hips, right? So the hips are universals. We have a sheath over top. It never quite covers down perfectly, but it doesn't look terrible. As a result, range-wise, you'll get up to there, back to there. You'll get out to the side a fair bit. You have a thigh swivel built around the universal from the thigh. It's actually between the piece connected to the universal and the thigh. On those, we have these accents, we have the wash on them, and we have the silver paint. No issues there. For the knees, they're double jointed. You have this covering, which covers the joint beautifully, by the way, and has the silver detailings. On this one, not so much. And I'm not sure if they should have tried to come up with a way to get this to cover down on that joint, but it's a little bit unfortunate because this one's done so well. No big deal, though. Down here, though, we have the wash once again, I think, maybe not, and then we have the silver accents painted on. Here we have the two shades of brown with the lighter brown or most forward brown. Actually, both are painted on, perhaps, or that gray is painted on. Probably the gray and the most forward brown. Then for the ankles, we have ball hinges. That'll get you up to there, down to there. If you maneuver it around, you should get a rocker. There you go. And a pretty good rocker at that. And we have a toe hinge and a boot cut, and that works fairly well, honestly. So no issues. Bottom of the feet are sculpted. There he is from the back. Move the cape out of the way, and you get an even better view. Size comparison wise, there he is next to the Hasbro one. And to be fair, there's proportion things I prefer about the Hasbro one. For the first time in a long time, I think that the head on the Mandalorian from Figuarts is slightly too small. I think the lower body is slightly too long compared to the upper body. The Figuarts is built better with better materials and has better articulation. It also deals with the joints better, but it's also significantly more expensive. This is kind of the culmination of things we've been talking about on Force Friday regarding bang for your buck and narrowing the gap between the domestic and foreign markets on 1/12 scale Star Wars figures. I can't remember if I showed you guys this or not. This is my Knights of Ren diorama. There's room for all of them in there. I kind of feel like I did show you guys this, so I'm just going to go ahead and show the next one too. But I try to keep you updated on the diorama work regarding the Star Wars stuff as we look at the figures. And here's one. And here's the other. This is Agent Kloss. This is the planet that they kind of celebrate in at the end of episode 9. Not my favorite. I think I did a good job with the diorama. I think the background painting in particular kind of was my moment to shine there. But it's not that I'm crazy about this planet or this scene or anything. It's just the one place in the movie where like all the characters kind of congregate. So as they release more figures from that movie, I can kind of just put them in here, and there's rooms and levels for all of them. And I got, little Babu Frick there on top of that tree stump. So I think this one really turned out well. But it's not the one I was most excited about making, I guess. Final thoughts wise, let's start with the negatives. The first one that springs to mind is the head does seem a little small and the upper body seems a little short. That's just the first thing that stands out to me regarding this guy, especially as a negative. Secondly, the cape is cheesy. It's not the worst material. It just looks stupid. It looks good around the collar of the helmet. It just looks dumb everywhere else. I'm not crazy about the way they do universal joints in the hips with these figures, but this one is one of the better ones I've seen. If I had a small complaint, that would be it. And then also perhaps I would mention how that one knee joint ends up looking a lot uglier than the opposite. Also tons of little small accessories. It's not really a criticism. Just be careful when handling this guy that you don't lose it. Positives wise though, there's plenty as well. The articulation is great. The materials are great. The accessories are great. There are some small pieces, but they are great. They're well thought out. They're thoughtful, and they care, and they try to make a very seamless and believable figure. I haven't had any articulation issues regarding them. Sculpt work is fantastic. The price is fairly reasonable given what it is. It's a much more versatile figure than the Hasbro one. Question is, how versatile do you need a figure to be? The Hasbro one does a pretty good job. This one does it better, but the Hasbro one does get a few things possibly more correct than this one does, but the Hasbro one's also good enough in most categories. So this is a really tricky one here. I can recommend this if you're a Mandalorian fan. I know a lot of you guys are huge Mandalorian fans, even more so than myself, but it really is a well done figure. I'm not sure exactly where the hate is coming from regarding this guy, except for the fact that people are very happy with their $20 one, which I get because that's a really good figure too. But this figure is well done, man. If you like this character, it's a strong recommend from me. Thanks again to Brian Brink. He's also on a show called Breaking the Mold, which you can find on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel. I forgot to mention that at the beginning, it's my apologies. But I want to make sure I thank him. I also want to make sure I thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.